Okay, I think we are officially live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to day one of Loving the Thin Skin You're In. This is day one of the free mini training. So I'm trying a little new thing here. I've got two screens going so that I can broadcast on Facebook and Instagram at the same time. So if it looks like I'm not looking directly at you, that's because I've got Facebook right here and Instagram right there. So I will do my best to speak to all of you guys here. While we are kind of getting started, just making sure I have everything set up correctly. Let me know if you're on, say hello. Let me know where you're tuning in from. I am really excited for this mini training. So yay, hello everyone. I'm seeing people popping on. So those of you who've been following me know that for the last 4 days, I was actually out of town. I live in Washington, and so I had gone to this really beautiful area in Washington called The Push and gone on kind of a self-care retreat with my mom and my sister and just spent 4 days by the ocean, chilling, just like soaking in the beauty of nature and really taking a self-care sabbatical, taking a total retreat. I literally had zero service on my cell phone, and for me that is really difficult, but it was so good and it was so soothing. And so anyways, this idea came to me while I was there that I wanted to put together this 5-day training for you guys for many reasons. One of which, and probably the most prominent, is that I just love to teach and I love to share. And I really, really love to do trainings like this and make my work accessible to everybody, no matter where you are. So I was really inspired to do this. And also everything that I'm going to be teaching you guys over the next 5 days in these free trainings is kind of a little bit of a sneak peek into my Sensitive Badass 6-month coaching mentorship, which the doors are open for right now. If you're on Facebook, the link to check that out is in, hi Debbie, oh yeah, you made it. Thank you for being patient with me. So the link is in the title. If you are watching me on Instagram and you want to check out the coaching mentorship, you can go to my profile and the link is at the top of my profile. So real quick, a little bit about the mentorship, and then I'm going to dive into the content of the free training today. But I just want to make sure to share this with you guys and make sure that you catch it because the doors are closing on Friday for this opportunity. So we have 5 more days technically. We have 3 spots taken. That means there's 7 remaining. So, you know, if you are feeling called, if you've been watching some of the stuff that I've been putting out there recently, if you've been hearing me talk about the mentorship and, you know, you're feeling called to join us, definitely take advantage of setting up a free call with me where we can get on the phone, we can get to know each other, we can chat, hang out, and I can help you to figure out if it's the right fit for you. I definitely want everybody that comes into this program to feel really good about it and really empowered and, you know, to feel really confident about their decision. So this is not one of those high pressure sales calls type things. It's really just us getting to know each other and figuring out if this is, you know, the right thing for you. So the mentorship is really going to be incredible, you guys. This is my favorite thing that I've ever created. It's amazing. It's 6 months, which I know is a time commitment, but here's the deal. So I made it 6 months very purposely because that is the amount of time that it takes to really, really let this work sink in and to really, you know, start to integrate and apply the kind of change that the women who I work with are looking for. So it's actually kind of a shortcut. I mean, I know it doesn't sound that way because 6 months, right? But it's literally a shortcut. I mean, this is stuff that took me, I don't know, 10, 15 years to figure out on my own. And so I'm really bringing this to you guys in a very potent healing coaching package with other amazing women so that you know that you're not alone, so that you have additional support, not just me, right? And it creates this really beautiful container, I think, when women come together in a place of healing and of self-exploration and of self-growth. So this mentorship is going to be profoundly transformational. I've put my all into it. We have the women that have joined so far are amazing. So if you guys are loving the content that you're going to be hearing over the next 5 days, if you've been loving the content that I've been putting out recently, I really encourage you to check out the mentorship opportunity, to give yourself a chance to explore that. Take the opportunity of getting on the phone with me. Let's chat and see if it's the right fit for you. So what are we going to be talking about today? Okay, so today is about building strong roots. And everything that I'm teaching and everything that I'm talking about is for and through the lens of being a highly sensitive woman. So really today is kind of like the foundation. And for some of you, this will be, not new news. You'll already have heard some of this stuff. You'll already have known some of this stuff. For others that are listening or that are tuning in today, this might be brand new information for you. So if it is, I'm super excited for you because it is really, really cool when you first discover this. So, my entire life, going through life, growing up as a highly sensitive girl, I really did not feel like I fit in. I felt like I was a complete alien. I thought there was something deeply wrong with me. I felt really, really, really flawed. For those of you just tuning in, also, I'm switching screens because I'm broadcasting to Facebook and Instagram. So if it looks like I'm not looking at you, I'm still talking to you. So anyways, so yeah, it was very, very difficult for me growing up because I knew that I was different, but I didn't understand why. I didn't understand what it was that made me different. All I knew was that, I made people uncomfortable, that I saw things and picked up on things that other people didn't, and that my parents in particular really didn't like it when I mentioned those things out loud. I knew that kids at school teased me, that I was a target for bullying. I knew that I was constantly being told that I was too sensitive and too dramatic and too emotional and too this and too that. Right. And so I took all of that in at a really deep level, and I decided in my child brain that there was something very, very wrong with me and that I was flawed. And I then lived the rest of my life from that place until I started to finally figure out what was really going on. Because what I didn't understand at the time and what I know now is that I am a highly sensitive person and that there is nothing wrong with that and that it's an amazing thing. And, I had to learn how to work with my sensitivity and not against it, because I had spent my whole life fighting it, right? Like, because I thought that there was something wrong with me, I felt that I needed to try and toughen up. And, I needed to change the way that I was and push my feelings down and be stronger, and it was really devastating because, first of all, I was not very good at any of those things. I tried really hard, but I could not toughen up. And the more that I tried to do that stuff, the more that I tried to become something that I wasn't, the more flawed I actually felt, because I was becoming further and further and further disconnected from myself and disconnected from my truth. And it wasn't until I was I believe I was like 23 or 24, when I read Elaine Aron's book, The Highly Sensitive Person. Somebody had recommended it to me. And at that moment, I was like, holy shit. This is a thing. Like, I had no idea that it was an actual genetic trait. And for those of you watching, some of you may not know that either. It's much more widely talked about now than it was when I was younger, but that book was mind-blowing to me. And so that was the pinnacle point that changed everything for me. And so whether, you do know this already or whether this is brand new information to you, it's good to really sit with the fact that being highly sensitive is actually a genetic trait, and it's 20% of the population that has this trait. That's a lot of people. So I know that we often feel alone and we feel misunderstood, but we're not alone. There's so many other people out there that experience the world in the way that we do. And basically all that it means is that our brains process data differently. So our brains process sensory data, essentially everything that we're taking in through all of our five senses. We process it much more deeply and thoroughly. And the way that kind of plays out for us is that we're very deeply connected to we feel everything very deeply, right? We can feel not only our own emotions, but picking up on the emotions and energies of those around us. We have deep, vast inner worlds. We're very imaginative. Sensitive people make amazing artists and visionaries and writers and leaders and spiritual teachers, and most importantly, healers, therapists and coaches and, doctors and nurses and all sorts of things. There's so many beautiful things about this trait because we have such an amazing level of empathy that comes very, very naturally to us. But the problem is that so many of us grow up hearing the messages like I did, that there's something wrong with us and that we need to toughen up and that we need to change who we are, change how we act, right? And I'm calling bullshit on that. And you have to start to call bullshit on that yourself as well. Because when you start to, or rather when you have grown up always looking for the negative about your sensitivity, because that's been reflected back to you from the world, you're going to see more of the negative because it is hard. The work that I do is really about helping people to maximize the benefits and minimize the challenges of being highly sensitive, because there are a lot of challenges that come with it. But when we're solely focused on those challenges, that's all we're going to see. And when we can start to allow ourselves to explore the gifts of it, then those will start to amplify for us. So, some of the things that are really amazing about being sensitive, aside from what I already mentioned, is that we're extremely intuitive, right? And we're naturally kind-hearted people. We're really loving people. We're natural born healers. Now, the shadow side of that is that oftentimes we turn into total people pleasers. We find ourselves morphing to every situation to try and appease people around us, to try and minimize conflict, to try and minimize negativity, right? But the awesome part of that is that we can really walk into a room and feel into what's going on in the room. We literally have a sixth sense. So I always say that sensitivity is a superpower. And when I was first going to coaching school, my monitor just flipped off. Okay. When I was first going to coaching school, there was this amazing woman in my class with me, and she said to me, she goes, when you're sensitive, it's like you're one of the X-Men. Your sensitivity is your superpower, but you have to learn to care for it so that it doesn't work against you, so that it doesn't destroy you, right? And I love that. And so I always tell people that story. And that's when I started referring to it as my superpower. And I started looking for it, or at it rather, through that lens of having this extrasensory ability, which is really freaking cool. And here's one thing too, you guys, that I love to teach if you don't know this already. And Elaine Aron talks about it in her book, The Highly Sensitive Person. So it's not just 20% of humans that have this genetic trait. It's also 20% of the animal kingdom. And what I love about that, and I think is so cool about that, is that it's not an accident, you guys. Like, it's not a mistake. This is divinely designed, The animals, there's 20% of the animals are highly sensitive. And in the animal kingdom, the animals that have this genetic trait are the ones that seek out food and water first. They're the ones that sense danger first. They're very important in the animal packs. And so it's only really, in our human society where we've placed judgment on being sensitive. But that doesn't mean that it's inherently a bad thing. It's actually inherently a really, really cool thing. So the more that you start to pay attention to the bright side of it and see how it serves you, the more your brain is going to start to look for that instead of looking for the negative. And that's going to help lift overwhelm, just in the sense that you're no longer going to feel as chronically flawed, because you're going to start to see that it's actually really special and amazing that you have this ability. And it's not that I'm saying that we're better than other people either. I'm certainly not, right? I've had some people ask me about that, and I don't think so at all. I literally think of it in the sense of some people are incredible basketball players, right? I can't play basketball to save my life. I'm horrible at sports. That is not my thing. That is not my gift. But I'm really, really gifted at helping people and healing people and understanding people and being a listener and being an amazing friend, right? Because that is my gift. I can't sing. I wish I could. I can't sing at all. But that's okay. Some people are naturally born with gorgeous, beautiful voices and musical ability. That's not something that I have, but I have the sensitive ability. So it's not that I'm saying that we're better than others, but I am saying that we need to start looking at it as what it really is, which is a gift. It's something special, and the more that you can recognize that and really let that sink in and start changing the way that you relate to your sensitivity, the more you're going to start to see it. It's going to show up for you more as a gift. So this is a really important foundational element, is to explore your sensitivity, so that you can understand it, so that you understand the way that your brain is processing information, so you understand the way that you're taking on emotions, because knowledge is power, right? And once you understand these things, you're going to be much more empowered to be able to, rather than just feeling like a victim and feeling like there are things that are happening to you that you can't control, to be able to say, okay, so this is the way that I am, right? Now, what am I going to do about it? How am I going to change how I relate to it so that it can start to work for me and not against me? Okay, let's see what else I had on my notes. Okay, so one of the ways to do this that is really important, and people talk about this all the time, It's self-care, right? Now, that's a word that's thrown around a lot. People talk about self-care constantly in different, avenues. And it can almost become cliche, right? People roll their eyes at it. Well, here's the thing though, guys, for those of us who are highly sensitive, self-care is a non-negotiable. I like to think of it as emotional hygiene. It's like as important as brushing your teeth and washing your face. And one of the reasons for this is because the world is so noisy. It's noisy for everybody, but especially those of us who are sensitive, because like I said, we're taking in more information from the world around us, right? So the world is so noisy, and we have been for years, most likely, those of you that are watching will relate to this. We have been talked out of our own truth, because we've been told that we're overreactors. We've been told that our emotions are not reasonable, that our reactions to things are not reasonable. And after hearing that for so long, we start to tell ourselves these things. So we're putting up with the noise of the world, the physical noise of the world, then the emotional noise of the world and the energetic noise, right? And by this, I mean all the stuff that we're picking up from other people, all of this feeling that we're taking in, and then the physical data, the things that we're seeing with our eyes, the things that we're hearing. This is a lot coming at us. And so what happens is that we start to lose our connection to the true voice that really matters, which is the voice of our inner guide, the voice of our soul, our inner child, whatever you want to call it, whatever resonates with you. Basically, the voice of your truth, your voice, right? Your feelings, your needs, your opinions, your values that can get lost in the shuffle of trying to just survive in the world as a highly sensitive woman. It really can, and it often does. And a lot of the women that come to me, this is one of the biggest things that we work on. It is walking you back home to your truth, reintroducing you to who you were before the world told you who you were supposed to be, right? Because we want to please so much that we, without even noticing it, will, adapt ourselves and change ourselves and manipulate ourselves into something that we're not, so that we can belong, so that we can be liked, so that we can be loved. And there is nothing wrong with the intention there, but what happens is that we lose ourselves in that. We lose ourselves in the noise, and we lose ourselves in, shedding our skin to become something for somebody else. And what we need to realize is that we do not have to change who we are to be loved or to be liked or to be worthy. That is built from the inside out. I spent so much of my life chasing worthiness, chasing being loved, chasing belonging, and trying to do everything I could to just, hammer myself like I was a square peg trying to fit into a circular hole. And in that, I lost my true form. I lost myself, right? So a lot of this work is about really, making time. When I'm talking about self-care, it doesn't matter so much what you do when you're doing that self-care as it does that you're doing it. The point is to really start working on cultivating a deeper relationship with yourself and with your inner guide. Because when you do that, you start to recognize that voice. And then as you build this deeper relationship with that voice inside of you, when you go out into the world, when you go out into the noise, you'll be able to hear her better. Because right now you've got your inner critic, you've got the noises of the world, you've got your emotions, you've got everybody else's feelings and negativity and all this stuff going on. And the voice of our inner guide is often the softest voice, and it gets lost in all of that. So when you are doing your self-care, whether it's taking a bath or walking in nature or meditating or journaling, any of these things, the most important thing to focus on is alone time and silence and connection with yourself. Listening to yourself. I love journaling because it's a way of having a conversation with yourself, really giving yourself that peace and quiet to be able to ground, to come back into your body, because we're so up here all the time. We're processing and we're analyzing and we're taking in all this stuff. But for us to be able to take a breath and calm down and be alone and be with ourselves and treat our relationship with ourselves the way that we treat any other relationship that we have in our lives, right? Spend time with yourself, nurture the relationship with yourself, give yourself the love and compassion that you so freely give to everybody else in the world, because I know you do. I know you do. As sensitives, we're so loving and we're so compassionate, but we're so hard on ourselves. And so when you start to do this self-care work in a way that is proactive, not reactive. So what I mean by that is, sometimes we have a bad day and so we say, oh, I'm going to treat myself to a glass of wine, or I'm going to take a bath, or, great, that's wonderful. But as sensitives, we really need to do our self-care every day, even when we're feeling good, even when something didn't go wrong, because what we're doing is we're building up this connection to ourselves. We're building and deepening that relationship with the voice of our truth, coming back home to that. And we're also giving ourselves, it's almost like squirrels, like storing nuts for the winter. You're building up your store of centeredness and groundedness and collectedness, so that when you do go out into the insane noise of the world, it's almost like you've created this safety within yourself that you then carry out into your day, rather than just going out into the world and feeling like a victim to the emotional storms of everyone around us, right? We have to build these strong roots. We really have to do the work to be very consistent in our connection to ourselves, because that's what's going to make you feel the most strong and make you feel the most resilient and capable, and help you to be able to thrive out there in an often noisy and overwhelming world, right? So really, I put my self-care on my calendar. Like I'm an old school paper planner girl. I have an online calendar, but I like to write things down and cross them off. I don't know what it is about it, but so I invest in a really nice planner every year, and I write down every single day, morning routine. And then I cross it off when I'm done with it, because it's so important that it is a to-do list on my daily basis. Because otherwise, if I don't prioritize it and if I'm not intentional about it, I just won't do it. And I think a lot of us are that way. So whether you are a paper planner girl or you are an online calendar girl, it doesn't matter. Just really prioritize this. Recognize that it can feel selfish to take time for ourselves, especially those of you that are watching that are mothers, right? But the thing is, if we don't take care of ourselves, we really can't do our best at taking care of anybody else. So if you have to get yourself to do it, say, I'm doing this for my children, or I'm doing this for my partner, or for my parents, or for my friends, or whatever, to motivate yourself to take care of yourself. Because really, when you do this work as a sensitive woman, to come home to your truth, to really reconnect to yourself, you become so magical and powerful in the world, and you're such a strong force for healing. But we can get lost in the overwhelm and the anxiety and the struggles that come with being a sensitive woman. And so that's why this work is so imperative, to do your self-care. Let's see. Yeah, and then really thinking about, who are you really? And who, beyond that, who do you want to be? Because we're so outward focused as sensitives. Like, we're always scanning our environment. We're looking for danger. We're looking for, safety. We're looking for ways to navigate things. We're sensing everybody's feelings. We are chronic, like, overthinkers. Oh, did I say the wrong thing? Did I do the wrong thing? Did I upset this person? Right? I'm sure you guys can relate to this. Like, I've literally stayed up at night before, tossing and turning over, did I do the right thing or did I say the right thing? That's the way that I used to be. We spend a lot of time really sensing our environment. And so we have to learn how to go back within. And when you start doing this, it can actually be really fun and really liberating and really freeing, because you get to rediscover yourself, you get to rediscover who you really are and decide, who do you want to continue to be? Who do you want to show up as in the world, And not because so-and-so said you should, or somebody wants this from you, or somebody else wants this, or whatever, but because you want it. And it's okay to do something just because you want it or you need it. There's nothing selfish about that. Like, you have to be your best friend first. And from that place, you can really go out there and make a profound difference in this world, which is what so many of us sensitives want. But we're so stuck in the people pleasing and just being able to get through our day that we hold ourselves back from the truth of who we are and from the full capacity that we have for healing powers. And when you start to learn to give to yourself the way that you give to others, and connect to yourself the way that you connect to others, and have that compassion for yourself the way that you do for others, everything changes. The thing is that we've been told our whole lives that we're weak because we're sensitive. I think that is a load of shit, okay? Because think about it this way. We're carrying an extra load, right? We're dealing with an extra layer of information, of sensing. We're carrying not only the depth of our own emotions, but holding the emotions of others and feeling the pain of others. So we have this whole extra layer of stuff that we're dealing with, but we get up and we do our work and we take care of our children and we show up for our partners and we do everything that everybody else does while carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders, right? So this idea that we're somehow weak is total nonsense. And once you can start to believe that and see that and feel for yourself, then you're tapping into your innate strength, because sensitive women are actually profoundly strong and very, very, very resilient. Very resilient. It's just that we haven't learned to see that in ourselves, right? Because we were told for so long that we were weak and that we needed to toughen up and all that. No, all of that is crap. It's so not true. This world does not need any more tough guys. There's enough of them, right? So that's why I talk about learning to love the thin skin that you're in, because it's the work here to, your happiness and your thriving and you're really feeling safe and empowered in this world as a sensitive woman. The work here is not to toughen up. That's only taking you farther away from the truth of who you are. The work here is coming home to who you are and loving the thin skin that you're in. And instead of trying to manipulate yourself into something that you're not to fit into a world that you feel doesn't fit you, creating a life that works for you, really, really standing up for yourself and your truth and knowing that everything you feel is valid. Everything you experience is valid. Just because other people don't experience the world the way that you do doesn't mean that it isn't true for you. And nobody gets to talk you out of that. They don't. Only if you let them, right? And we grow up being taught how to let them talk us out of it. So this is an unlearning of that and a coming back to the truth of who you are. So I'm going to be talking about this more tomorrow. Tomorrow in day 2 of the mini training, we're going to be really getting into all the feels and what do you do with all of the feelings and how do you handle carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders? How do you handle the emotional overwhelm? How do you handle the physical symptoms that come from that, the anxiety and the depression and frustration and all of those things? So we're really going to dive into that in tomorrow's training. So I hope that you guys come and join me for that. I will be posting the replay of this. For those of you watching on Instagram, it will be up on my story for 24 hours. For those of you on Facebook, I'll be posting the replay on my wall. And once again, if you guys are loving what you're hearing, if you're resonating with this content, if you're feeling, the call in your heart to really start doing this work yourself at a deeper level, the doors are open for my Sensitive Badass 6-month coaching mentorship. Profoundly transformational, amazing experience. We have incredible women coming into this program so far. Doors are open through Friday at midnight. And if you guys have any questions about it or are kind of on the fence, please take advantage of the opportunity to get on the phone with me. I'm doing free calls all week. Again, like I said in the beginning, this is not a high pressure salesy type thing. This is literally just let's get to know each other. Let's chat about what's going on with you and let's figure out together if this is the right fit for you and if it's the right time for you. So I would love to hear from you guys. I love talking to you on the phone. I'm so excited to be able to bring you this training. I hope that it was profoundly helpful for you. And I will be back tomorrow. Be sure to let me know, you guys, too, if you have any particular questions. You can, oh, you're so welcome, Debbie. I'm so glad that you stayed on. Sorry, I was so late. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to tag me and let me know, and I'll make sure to address them in the trainings this week. So thank you, everybody, for being here live with me. I love you all, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Monday. All right.